position on trade is well known. We think that trade has not helped domestic industry. Let me talk about process issues. I think I heard right when the presenter from the Ministry of Trade says that they will consult with stakeholders after the modalities and the framework has been agreed. And I think that seemed to me like a top-down approach. Okay, but at least we know that today not much consultation has been done. We also know that a lot of things have been agreed upon. So we seem to be reversing the process. In 2011, I was in Geneva with Sylvester, and I got an invitation from the American negotiators. They wanted to meet the trade union participants. And then we got to the Continental Hotel in Geneva, only to realize that the whole delegation took up that whole building because they brought all their private sector people and everybody. So they were part of the negotiation. They are in the room. They are doing the back room work for them. Unfortunately for us, the negotiators go alone. The issue I'm raising is that we need to do a lot more consultation before we even get into some of these agreements. Unfortunately, our institutions sometimes appear to think that they are so right in what they are doing, and that all that others are doing is to make noise. The second issue I want to raise is the question of fragile productive capacity, as Sylvester mentioned. Here again, it seems to me that our trade experts in the ministry think that trade in itself will help us to raise the productive capacity, which I find strange. I find very, very, very strange why they think that since 1986, when we, under structural adjustment, we overnight liberalized, why our productive capacity hasn't gone up. And yes, they still think that by doing further liberalization, we will have our productive capacity boosted. Then the other issue I want to talk about is the coverage for the CFTA. One would have thought that given that this is our first time we are talking about a continental trade agreement, we would have gone a little bit more gradual. But if you look at what he showed in his presentation, we have trade in goods, trade in services, investment, intellectual property, and everything all at one go. I find it very strange. I think a gradual approach to liberalization will be better for us. And in that respect, I also concur with Sylvester that a progressive liberalization will be better. He talks about concentration clause. And the way he explained it, my understanding is that if, for instance, somebody says that his exclusive list includes oil, gold, cocoa, then he probably cutting off trade with Ghana. Is that if that explanation is right? So they will try to have an anti-concentration clause in the agreement. That comes back to the question of productive capacity. Because this is a continent where countries' export basket is just some 2-3 commodities. So a free trade agreement in such a space should not be based on past liberalization experiences that we have had. That, and I agree with Jachi, wouldn't be developmental. And then you also talked about base rate and applied rate. And in the base rate, you made mention of the WTO, the rate we applied there. In the WTO, there are 2 rates. I think there's a bound rate and there's an applied rate. I don't know which one we are going to use. So if, for instance, we are currently applying about 20% tariff on, say, poultry. But our bound commitment within the WTO is that we can apply about 99%. Okay. So which one are we talking about? You are talking, because he mentioned the base rate and the applied rate. I would have wished that we start with the bound rate. That's the ceiling. You understand? That's the ceiling. But you see, in most cases, we have refrained from actually going towards our ceiling because of IMF restrictions. So in 2003, when we passed Act 641 or so, that raised, as part of the 2003 budget, that raised poultry tariff from 20 to 40%. Hence here, they went to court. The government of Ghana that passed the act refused to implement the act simply because an intern at the IMF instructed them not to implement it. The poultry farmers went to court, and the same government went back to parliament under a state of urgency or emergency, I don't know the term they use, to withdraw the act. Okay, so we have not gone towards the applied rate because in that poultry instance, actually there was a study that showed that in order to save the poultry industry, we need to raise the tariff, which government agreed to and did. But it could not do because we were under IMF programming. So the point I'm making is that we have not moved up towards the bound rate because of IMF restrictions. And then finally, let me talk about the thing about services. And you see, the way I look at it, Joshua is right. If you look at our service sector today in Ghana, banking, telecom, shipping, they are all foreign dominated. One would expect that if you have a free trade area, foreign investors will try to locate in Ghana to take advantage of or the other market. But in many respects, they don't need to do that because we also have given them economic partnership agreement. So they could still be located in Europe and still take advantage of the free, the space that we are creating under the free trade area. Secondly, if you take, for instance, MTN as a foreign company in Ghana, it offers employment to some number of Ghanaians, but it makes some of the highest profit in this country. That profit is made in cities. Is that not the case? And their owners are in South Africa and probably in London. How do they get the profit to them? How? They go to the market and exchange the cedi into dollars that have been brought into this country by the cocoa farmers. So it's one of the reasons why there's constant pressure on the cedi. The 900 million or so that Vodafone brought us, they probably would have recovered it, but they recovered it in cities. The owners are in London. They have to send them their profit. How do they do that? Again, the few dollars that we get from cocoa and oil, we place it at their disposal. So we need to be a little bit more nuanced when we are liberalizing services. The Deutsche Telekom is still in German hands because service beyond the initial capital that it brings in doesn't generate any foreign exchange again. So once you liberalize services and place them in the hands of foreigners, then you have created a problem for yourself. So the whole Continental agreement should, in my view, and I agree with Jachi, that it should not be built on the past failed liberalization that has continuously undermined our productive sectors in this country and in Africa.